Hello friends, welcome to Jinesh IS Academy editorial analysis. In this editorial, we do 5 things. Firstly, we will link the editorial to the UPSC CSE mains syllabus. Secondly, we will understand the key points from the editorial. Thirdly, we will understand the key concepts from the examination point of view. Fourthly, we have modeled the MCQs as per the UPSC prelims examination. And fifthly, we have modeled mains questions as per UPSC mains syllabus. So let's begin today's editorial analysis. Today's editorial has been taken from Business Line newspaper dated May 16, 2020. It comes under the UPSC CSE syllabus under GS paper 3, Growth and Development, Public Distribution System and Buffer Stock Food Security. First of all, the key points from this topic. Friends, food procurement has been our savior. Economists railing against India's food subsidies have been proved wrong. Without these stocks, we would have been in trouble. These are the kind of conclusion point of from this editorial. Remember here that all the West liberal economists have been against food subsidy and public procurement because they do not have a sense of history at all. Here we have two concepts, West liberal economist and food subsidy and public distribution procurement in terms of India. We will discuss later on with the help of infographics. Repeated episodes of famine have been the hallmark of India and probably the post-independent Indian democracies. Undoubted achievement has been food security for the entire country, which we never had in the past. India was never administratively integrated before 1947 because we were under the rule of Britishers and they exploited us. Even in the latest economic survey, there was mention of the growing food subsidy bill and the need to curtail it. But now that the likes of the economists have started running our stories on food availability across the world, the West has also begun to sit straight and take note. They find India and China way ahead of even the US in the matter with less of import dependency than the G7 countries. The UK, for instance, has a high import dependency for food. This whole lines says about food dependency. We have 200 years of colonial era, but instead of that, in the wake of COVID pandemic, we have a less import dependency as compared to G7 countries. That is the achievement which is against the thought process of the West liberal economist. Now, we can understand with the help of this infographics what all about the West liberal economist and what is food subsidy and public procurement system all about our country. Because of this West liberal economist, G7 countries faced less of import dependency in the wake of pandemic COVID. And on the other hand, the same we have 100 crore plus people, but we have an import dependency. So in this way we can say it is a very good lesson for West liberal economists to learn from India. Here we can say India's agriculture policies have had multiple mandates, including a production imperative, national food security, a consumer imperative, it means keeping food prices low for a large low income population, and a farmer welfare imperative, it means raising farmers' income. Tensions between these mandates have resulted in costly, contradictory policies whose costs have been increasingly borne by farmers. In terms of India, the government purse and the natural environment, realizing the significance of agriculture in India's socio-economic order, the government has set an agenda of doubling farmer income by raising productivity and cutting down costs and going for diversification towards high value agriculture. However, Indian agriculture is in the need of many fundamental reforms. So we can say what the thought process of the West liberal economist and what we did with the help of food subsidy and public procurement, we definitely help our country in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Further, with that we have a certain concepts to learn. The very first concept today is FCI, which stands for Food Corporation of India. It is a public sector undertaking under the Department of Food and Public Distribution Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. FCI is a statutory body set up in 1965. Here these certain points are very important for the sake of CSE prelims, because there are so many kind of bodies like extrajudicial, quasi judicial, judicial, statutory. So here FCI is a statutory body set up in 1965 under the Food Corporation Act 1964. It was established against the backdrop of major shortage of grains, especially wheat. Simultaneously, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices (CSEP) was created in 1965 to recommend remunerative prices to farmers. It has primary duty to undertake purchase, store, move, transport, distribute and sell food grains and other food stuffs. With this topic, we will make a question for the sake of CSE Prelims 2020. With reference to the fair and remunerative prices, consider the following statements. The enactment of the National Food Security Act NFSA 2013 on July 5, 2013 marks a paradigm shift in the approach to food security from welfare to a rights-based approach. Second statement is FCI conducts open-ended procurement, which means the government will buy at minimum support price MSP any quantity of wheat and rice from any farmer who comes forward to sell. Which of the following statements are right? In that case, both the statements are true. Here we have utilized two terms like open-ended procurement and minimum support price. In our further slides, with the help of infographics, we can make it clear all about open-ended procurement. So in this way, friends, we make a question for CSE Prelims 2020 from editorial analysis. Here in this chart, you can show the basic functioning of Food Corporation of India. The very first is the farmer, then Central Food Corporation of India, then state governments, then fair price shops, and at the last the beneficiary. It means the farmers to the beneficiary. That is the point. In the very first support, in the very first stage, we can say government decided procurement at minimum support price. It will definitely help the farmers' interest. And after that, state government procure allocation at central issue prices. And after that, state government distribute the grains to fair price shops at the very fair prices. And after that, with various development schemes, the beneficiaries are getting sale of grains at central issue prices. Here in the concepts to learn, we have a basic things about the FCI, like major activities undertaken by Food Corporation of India, in which very first thing is procurement and second is distribution. Over the years, there are gradual changes in distribution pattern of FCI. Very first, it was known as public distribution system. After that, it was revamped public distribution system, and after that, today's era, it is known as targeted public distribution system. Every time our government try to make it very much transparent and accountable towards the poor in masse. Now we will discuss all these points in detail. First, the procurement of the FCI. The central government extend price support for procurement of wheat, paddy and coarse grains through the FCI and state agencies. All the food grains conforming to the prescribed specification are procured by the public procurement agencies at the minimum support price plus incentive bonus announced, if any. It depends on crop to crop. Procurement is undertaken both in direct and indirect mode. We have a direct mode and we have a indirect mode. Under decentralized procurement scheme introduced in 1997-98, food grains are procured and distributed by the state government themselves. The designated state procure, store and issue food grains under targeted public distribution system, that is known as TPDS system, and other welfare schemes of the government. The decentralized system of procurement was introduced to enhance the efficiency of procurement for PDS and to encourage procurement in non-traditional states as well as to save on transit losses and cost. Before the start of each procurement season, central government announces uniform specification for quality of wheat, paddy, rice and coarse grains. Quality Control Division of FCI ensures procurement of food grains from procurement centers strictly in accordance with Government of India uniform quality specifications. It is very important point for any organization. FCI has also been nominated as an additional nodal agency for procurement of pulses and oilseeds. Now, the distribution of the FCI, that functions of FCI. FCI meets the requirement of TPDS through grains procured which are issued at central issue price fixed by government to fulfill the objective of helping the economically vulnerable section of society. FCI delivers food grains to state government, state agencies from its base depots for distribution by the latter through fair price shops. We saw all these things in our chart. The role of FCI becomes even more important in backdrop of National Food Security Act 2013 that commits to distribute grains through TPDS and other welfare schemes at highly subsidized prices. Here we have a diagram which shows about how that public distribution system works. In the sake of CSE mains examination, if we draw these kind of charts, it will definitely create a very good impression on the examiner. Now, what is all about public distribution system? PDS is operated under the joint responsibility of central and the state government. You saw we darkened these things. It is jointly responsibility of central and the state government. The central government through FCI has assumed the responsibility for procurement, storage, transportation and bulk allocation of food grains to the state governments. The operational responsibilities including allocation within the state, identification of eligible families, issues of ration card and supervision of functioning of fair prices shops etc. to reduce corruption etc. thing rest with the state governments. So, these are the things which are controlled by the state governments. Under the PDS presently the commodities namely wheat, rice, sugar, kerosene are being allocated to the state and UTs for distribution. Some states and union territories also distribute additional items of mass consumption through PDS outlets such as pulses, edible oils, iodized salt species etc. to help the poor in masses to even survive. Here again we have a chart of this public distribution, this revamped public distribution system which is changed from public distribution to revamped. It means we make it more transparent. So, here we have central government, then procurement, storage, transportation, bulk allocation, then distribution done by the state government with the help of fair price shops and at the end our beneficiary known as the consumer in that point. Now, revamped public distribution system. The RPDS was launched in June 1992 with a view to strengthen and streamline the PDS as well as to improve its reach in the far-flung, hilly, remote and inaccessible areas where a substantial section of the poor live. It covers 775 blocks where in area specific programs such as drought prone area program DPAP, integrated tribal development projects, desert development program were being implemented and in certain designated hill areas which are identified in consultation with the state government and for special focus. Now, finally, we will come to the point targeted public distribution system which we are presently using and it is the most modified public distribution system across the world. The TPDS was launched in 1997 to benefit the poor and to keep the budgetary food subsidies under control to the desired extent following failures of the earlier PDS system. Conceptually, the transition from universal PDS to TPDS was a move in the right direction as it was designed to include all the poor households and raise the unit subsidy and ration quota considerably for them. And we can say all credit goes to TPDS in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic and even the world community of economists. They are learning how we inculcate this TPDS system. TPDS aims to providing food grains to the people below the poverty line at highly subsidized prices from the PDS and food grains to people above the poverty line at much higher prices than the poverty line. Thus, the TPDS adopted by the Government of India maintains the universal character of the PDS, but it adds a special focus on the people below the poverty line. Here friends, the National Food Security Act 2013 has been notified, which provides for all India coverage of up to 75% of the rural population and up to 50% of the urban population of country for receiving highly subsidized food grains. Here we have a National Food Security Act. In this hologram we see the money matters budgetary, it is overall 1% of GDP, that it is a massive project you can say, and who are getting benefits of it, like 75% from the rural areas and 50% from the urban poor people are getting benefit. And in terms of Indian population, 810 million people are getting benefit from National Food Security Act. It offers many things. 5 rupees per kg of rice, wheat, coarse cereals per person per month at the rate of 3 rupees per kg, 2 rupees per kg, 1 rupees per kg respectively. 85,000 crore was spent on food subsidy bill in 2012-13. This will rise by 40,000 crore after the enactment of the National Food Security Bill 2013. So, this was enacted in 2013. Its positive points are here, its concerns are here. If we will discuss the positive points, it will ensure a food and nutrition security for 810 million people. It will improve malnutrition record. India ranks 65th out of 79 countries on the Global Hunger Index, and almost half the children under 5 are chronically malnourished. It will improve women. The eldest woman of the family above 18 will be regarded the head of the household for issue of ration card. And it has certain concern, like the program is projected to push up India's fiscal deficit in terms of economic. Definitely it is 5.1% of GDP in the current fiscal year. The government has promised to keep that deficit under 4.8%. It is a very big deficit in terms of economics. Extending the PDS may provide another channel for leakages. Political controversy after claims that the bill makes state government equally responsible for implementing schemes. So, it happens elsewhere in the world apart from India. South Africa, Ecuador, Nepal, Brazil have included right to food in their constitution. So, they are also following us. Now, we will discuss this National Food Security Act in detail. The enactment of the National Food Security Act NFSA 2013 on July 5, 2013 marks a paradigm shift in the approach to food security from welfare to a rights based approach. The act legally entitled up to 75% of the rural population and 50% of the urban population to receive subsidized food grains under the newly enacted targeted public distribution system, right. About 2/3 of the population therefore is covered under the act to receive highly subsidized food grains. NFSA 2013 is being implemented in all the states and union territories on an all India basis, pan India approach you can say. Out of maximum coverage of 81.35 crore, around 80 crore persons have been covered under NFSA at present for receiving highly subsidized food grains. The identification of beneficiaries by states and UTs is a continuous process which involves exclusion of ineligibility, fake duplicate ration cards, and also exclusion on account of death, migration, etc., and inclusion on account of birth, as also that of genuine left out households. So, it's this article is all about the governance of the National Food Security Act and how our officers are making it a very fair process, right. Again we have a infographics to know the certain strengths of FCI and certain weaknesses of FCI. Very first, there is a pressing need for implementing Shanta Kumar committee recommendation. Now, what is all about Shanta Kumar committee recommendations we will discuss, and on the other hand issues pertaining to FCIs like open ended procurement, storage crisis, it's all about the logistics things. First in first out principle, FIFO policies utilized by FCI, lack of proactive liquidation policy. Now we will discuss all these things step by step. Very first, the open-ended procurement of FCI. Friends, FCI conducts open-ended procurement, which means the government will buy at minimum support price any quantity of wheat and rice from any farmer who comes forward to sell. Now, due to this, FCI has huge grain stocks which far exceed buffer stock norms, right? Also, some of the reasons for this excess stocks are export bans. Due to this, FCI's mounting debts have increased to an estimated rupees 2.55 lakh crore by March 2020. Second thing about FCI is storage crisis. FCI lacks necessary warehousing infrastructure and robust procurement mechanism. Due to lack of adequate storage facilities and huge quantities of food grains get wasted every year. And third thing is all about the FIFO, this first in first out principle. FCI follows a first in first out principle. That principle mandates that grain that has been procured earlier needs to be distributed first to ensure that older stocks are liquidated both across years and even within a particular year. It is time for the FCI to suspend this strategy if it has not already. That enables movement that cost least time, money and effort. And at the end, lack of proactive liquidation policy. The current system of liquidation of excess stocks through the open market sale schemes, it is all about domestic, or through export markets, is extremely ad hoc and slow. FCI does not get a good price most of the time, as predetermined price, reserve price, is often less than the acquisition cost, or you can say the economic cost of grains for FCI, and it ends up making a loss in the sale. So it is a tough task. Now, what steps we have to be taken? It is suggested by the Shantakumar committee. There is a pressing need for implementing Shantakumar committee recommendation. For example, it recommended that FCI should hand over all procurement operations of wheat and rice to the states, having sufficient experience and reasonable infrastructure for procurement. In the context, the central government can incentivize states to follow decentralized procurement schemes, DCP, right? And FCI should accept only the surplus after deducting the needs of the states under NFSA. From these state government to be moved to deficit states like Eastern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Assam, etc. FCI should outsource its stocking operation to various agencies such as Central Warehousing Corporation, State Warehousing Corporation, private sector under private entrepreneur guarantee schemes. So friends, there is a need for a transparent liquidation policy that should automatically come into effect whenever FCI is faced with surplus stocks over buffer norms. It is beneficial even in the national interest. The vibrant network of self-help groups formed under the National Rural Livelihood Mission (NRLM) can be tasked with the last mile distribution of food aid other than the PDS. So in this way we reach the more people, right? And the farmer producer organization FPOs have been at the forefront of rebuilding the inefficient supply chains. The FCI along with the National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India Limited (NAFED) is well placed to rope in expertise to manage the logistics to support supply chain management. So with the help of this infographics, friends, first of all we discuss the certain lacunas in the FCI, and on the other hand we discuss the how we remove the lacunas from FCI with the help of Shantakumar committee recommendations. Okay. Here we again have one infographics which shows India's agriculture sector and productivity challenges. At first, at 169.6 million hectares, India's cultivated land mass is the largest in the world. So it is a big challenge for our government. On the other hand, the government of India's top research institute reports that nearly 60% of agriculture land is at risk. It is a big threat because of fertilizer misuse, poor cropping practices and soil nutrient deficiencies. On the other hand, India uses 13% of the world's extracted water and 87% is used for irrigation. Expanding irrigation has been a key strategy for increasing productivity. The proportion of arable land under irrigation increased from 20% to 35% from 1981 to 2013. The country is faced with the prospect of declining rainfall during the monsoon, India's prime growing season for rain-fed agriculture. Right, friends, these are certain static points which are very helpful to support our theory in the CSE mains examination. 55% of the population is engaged in agriculture production. As farmers are divided among family members, average farm size today is 1.16 hectares, or you can say 2.87 acres, is half what it was 40 years ago. When we are comparing this agriculture and the unemployment among agriculture workers rose from 9.5% in 1993 to 94 to 15.3% in 2004-5. Government subsidies to farmers for fertilizer, electricity, irrigation increased more than eightfold between 1990 to 1991 and 2006 to 2007. Areas receiving the highest subsidies regulatory underperform those with lower subsidies. So we can say government just try its best to help farmers against the inflationary pressure. After that, government subsidies for buying and distributing food grains to low income and disadvantaged households grew from 2.2% of agriculture GDP during the 1990s to 5% in the 2000s, crowding out investment in agriculture, education, research, technology and extensions. India's Ministry of Agriculture reports that from 2005 to 2007, 30% of harvest and poor harvest economic losses comes from the fruit and vegetable sectors, although that sector comprised only 13.6% of total production. Further, we will discuss all about the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, CSCP. Earlier in infographics we utilized this word. The CSCP is an attached office of the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. The Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, CSCP, since 1985, earlier named as Agriculture Prices Commission, came into existence in January 1965. These are the things which our government is doing to make our system very much transparent and accountable towards the farmers. It is mandated to recommend minimum support prices to incentivize the cultivators to adopt modern technology and raise productivity and overall grain production in line with the emerging demand patterns in the country. MSP for major agriculture products are fixed by the government each year after taking into account the recommendations of the Commission. As of now, CSCP recommends MSPs of 23 commodities. Friends, be precise while writing all these things, which comprises 7 cereals: paddy, wheat, maize, sorghum, pearl, millet, barley and ragi; 5 pulses like gram, tur, moong, urad, lentil; 7 oil seeds: groundnut, mustard, soybean, sesame, sunflower, safflower, Niger seed; and 4 commercial crops like copra, sugarcane, cotton and rosewood. So it is a very important point for the sake of CSE prelims in terms of CACP. Again friends, we have a infographics. In the present era, which is a very tough time, and we have a certain challenges because of COVID pandemic, storage of rice or wheat, starvation, skyrocketing prices, and how this our system of food subsidies, national food subsidy schemes, FCI's governance helps us, which make us less dependent on food from other countries. And today even the G7 countries are facing trouble to cope up with the situation in terms of food. And India, which is a developing country, is comfortable even in that trouble era. So farmers is saying thanks to food subsidy and food security programs, and even we can say thanks to the farmers because of their timely help to us, even they are feeding us. So we can say if farmers in India have not been hit in any two crops, they are rice and wheat, where procurement by the FCI is assured at the minimum support prices. For all other crops, the MSP system does not work so efficiently, and it is the mountain of rice and wheat which has come to the aid of our country in the wake of COVID pandemic. Shortage of rice or wheat, even a news report of shortage would have not only led to starvation but skyrocketing of prices. This did not happen in a validation of food subsidy and food security program of our country, or you can say it is the visionary power of our political leaders. Next, we have a chart which is all about a food price index. According to the United Nations led Food and Agriculture Organization, world food commodity prices declined further during April as the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in significant contractions in supplies and demand. The FAO Food Price Index, which tracks international prices of the most commonly traded food commodities, averaged 165.5 points in April. We can see all these things in the chart, right? It is here, nearly here, right, and we can say it is between 165.5 points. The FAO sugar price index hit a 13-year low, declining 14.6% from the March, which might spell bad news for the sugarcane growers in UP, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. The record transportation of food grains by the FCI to mitigate COVID lockdown hardship has thus helped in depositing of stocks even as international prices were falling, reducing its cost of inventory holding and freeing up space for the Rabi procurement. The FCI moved 60 lakh tons food grains during April 2020, more than double the monthly average of 30 LMT lakh metric tons. The real builders of this bulwark against hunger and famine for the deprived and the destitute have been the Indian farmers. Yes, it is very important point, friends. It is the Indian farmers which are the saviors in the COVID-19 pandemic. Year after year, battling vicissitudes, adapting to volatile prices, they have been the food heroes of our country. The FAO has publicly appealed for support for farmers, which we are doing from the very beginning. Here, the Modi government was very responsive in advancing the PM Kisan Samman released for 2020-21. Some more support is definitely required for the nearly 10 crore farmers who see to it that we do not struggle for food anymore despite being a low income country. It is hoped that the Finance Minister Fiscal Package 2 will bring cheer for them, and most importantly, all the cacophony over food subsidy being a wastage and the FCI being an entity waiting to be wound up will not be aired at least for the next few years by the neoliberal US trained economist who cannot probably differentiate between a paddy and a wheat field. So that is the hardcore reality which these guys will have to learn from India. Here we have a certain key point from PM Kisan scheme. You saw that PM Kisan model on the lines of Raitu Bandhu scheme introduced by the Telangana government in 2018, right? So it is a very good example of federalism in our country. We are learning from states, and sometimes states learn from the central government. Under Raitu Bandhu, landowners get 5,000 per acre twice a year without any condition. It means they are getting 10,000 rupees, right? And it covers 53 lakh eligible farmers under Raitu Bandhu scheme in Telangana government, Telangana state. About 36 lakh farmers eligible for both Raitu Bandhu and PM Kisan schemes, right? Union government has rolled out the new pension scheme a few days ago, providing 3,000 per month to farmers below the age of 60. Now, we have a certain initiatives for farmers who are the saviors. We can say the saviors instead of the farmers, right? The Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi and the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Man Dhan Yojana. In the very first scheme, small and marginal farmers get up to rupees 6,000 per year as minimum income support, right? And on the second hand, PM Kisan Man Dhan Yojana, old age pension schemes to improve the life of small and marginal farmers. Here again we have one infographics and the detailed points about the PM Kisan scheme. Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, PM Kisan in short, is a central sector scheme with 100% funding from the Government of India. This point is again important for the sake of CSE Prelims 2020. It is being implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Under the scheme, the center transfer an amount of rupees 6,000 per year in 3 equal installments, it means 2,000 each, directly into the bank accounts of all landholding farmers irrespective of the size of their land holdings. It intends to supplement the financial needs of the small and marginal farmers in procuring various inputs to ensure proper crop health and appropriate yields commensurate with the anticipated farm income at the end of each crop cycle. So, in short, we can say it is the biggest financial inclusion scheme by the Government of India. The entire responsibility of identification of beneficiaries, farmer families, rest with the state and union territory governments. So, it is a very fair scheme. Here you again saw the key points. PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana launched to secure lives of 5 crore small and marginal farmers, rupees 6,000 as we already discussed. PM Kisan extend to all eligible families irrespective of the size of land holding, thus increasing the coverage to this 5 crore to the 14.5 crore farmers. It is the latest data. First and second installment of rupees 2,000 transferred to 5.89 crore and 3.43 crore farmer respectively. So, it is a very fair scheme. What we say is we done, you can say like that. And we can say the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare observed the first anniversary of the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, in short PM Kisan scheme, on the 24th of February. The PM Kisan was launched on February 24th in 2019. All states are implementing the scheme except West Bengal. They have certain pros and cons about this scheme. The PM Kisan mobile app, developed and designed by the National Informatics Center in collaboration with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, has been launched again. So, we are utilizing technology for the sake of transparency and accountability. It is a very good step. The farmers can view the status of their application, update or carry out corrections of their Aadhaar cards, and also check the history of credits to their bank accounts. It is a very welcome steps. Now, here in the wake of COVID pandemic, our PM initiated certain relief packages which is known as the Financial Minister's Fiscal Package Part 2. Earlier the PM Modi initiated Atmanirbhar Bharat, and in short we will discuss. It has 5 pillars of self-reliant India, like economic quantum jumps, not incremental changes; infrastructure, one that represents modern India; system, that is technology driven; demography, which is vibrant demography of the largest democracy, which we can utilize. It is considered the biggest human resource; and the demand, full utilization of power and of demand and supply. Now, what is all about the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan? Its package of rupees 20 lakh crores, which is a very massive amount and about 10% of our Indian gross domestic product, focus on land, labor and liquidity and laws to cater to laborers, middle class cottage industry, middle class families, cottage industries, MSMEs and industries among others. It has certain bold reforms need of the hour, like supply chain reforms for agriculture, rational tax system, simple and clear laws, capable human resource and strong financial system. This chart is very important for the sake of CSE mains examination. If we will make it, we create a very good impression on the examiner, and you know, these are the points which again make us world leaders and we can cope up with the world competition. Now here you can show certain announcements by the FM, that is all about lockdown antidote. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announces the features of the for the first part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. For small businesses, rupees 3 lakh crore emergency credit for micro, small and medium enterprises. Only domestic firms can bid for government procurement up to rupees 200 crore. So in this way we help our domestic entrepreneurs. For employees, taxpayers, for infrastructure sector, for financial sectors, we have a various scheme in that. But we can say recently these schemes are launched by Union Finance Minister, announced the short term and long term measures for supporting the poor, including migrants, farmers, tiny businesses and street vendors, as part of their second tranche of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, which we will see in this chart. We see the EPF and all these things, rupees 30,000 crore special liquidity for microfinance, housing finance firms and NBFCs. So relief at hand they are seeing. The announcement measures also form a part of the 20 lakh crore economic stimulus package to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier, the economic stimulus one was announced, which include both liquidity financing measures and credit guarantee. Everything has certain criticism. So we can say economists say that these interventions under the Atmanirbhar Bharat banner, right? So economists say that these interventions was too little and too late, and that the free food grain provision should have been universalized to deal with widespread distress. There are 50 crore people in the country without ration cards, of which 10 crore are legally entitled to PDS grain under NFSA. Or the rest, there are many people who were managing in normal times, vegetable vendors, gig economy workers, auto rickshaw drivers, who are in dire straits now. Friends, PDS needed to be extended to all these people at this time. It is the need of the hour. Economists have asked the government for a one-time cash transfer to vulnerable section like migrant laborers. There were no steps taken to extend Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act employment guarantee to at least 200 days. We know currently the Mahatma Gandhi Narega aims to provide at least 100 days of wage employment, right? With this whole editorial, we can say there is a model questions which we have modeled for you. Discuss the role played by Food Corporation of India regarding food security. Also highlight the challenges faced by it. It is come under the GS paper 3, and you can write this answer in 250 words. Home practice will make you eligible for CSE mains examinations. Thank you, friends.